pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Brendel?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Quinn?
Here.
Mr. Tangeman?
Here.
Mr. Weiss? Mr. Zelnick?
Here.
Mr. Martin? Ms. Lodgy? Chairman Pearson?
Here. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law. Notice of this meeting was included in a list of meetings sent to the CoStar and Asbury Park Press. It's posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and it's on the borough website. We have no correspondence and no old business at this point. We do have new business, resolution 2017-01, confirming the election of officers for the year 2017. Okay.
Don't we elect the officers first?
Yes.
You need a nomination.
I'd like to nominate Dennis Pearsall as the chairman of the, I'll second it.
I'll nominate Brian Brindle for.
So we do.
Second that.
Oh.
So we're gonna do them all together, and then like
I think you need to do
one at a time.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's hold off on
You
that.
got two people up for president.
Your name for?
So on the nomination of Mr. Pearsall as chairperson, Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
No.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman,
No.
Mr. White, Mr. Zelnick,
Yes.
Ms. Lodgy? Yes. Chairman Pearsall,
Oh, abstain.
or Mr. Pearsall, I should say at this point, abstain. So that's a four yeses, 2 noes. Mr. Pearsall is our chairman.
I'll withdraw my nomination.
When
What?
we had 2 people nominated,
Yeah, but
so the first,
you didn't. You had
yeah.
a first, and then you had a second on the original one. So once that happens, that's the nomination.
I thought that when you had 2 people, you'd have like a secret ballot or something, so everybody could vote for one person out of the 2.
You didn't have 2 people, that's what I'm saying. We had a nomination and a second immediately before.
Yeah, okay, so you have to vote on the second, okay. Yes.
Who was the second?
Mr.
Okay.
I don't know.
John Tangen.
Yeah, I seconded Mr. Miller.
Right.
But we don't get to that because.
You don't.
Right,
Yeah.
Two stats.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd like to nominate Brian Brendel
For vice chair?
vice chair.
I'll second.
I have a second. Thank you, Mr. Miller. I'm just, sorry, I'm making notes. So, the vote on that nomination. Mr. Brendel,
I'll abstain.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman,
Yes.
Mr. Zelnick,
Yes.
Ms. Lodgy? Yes. Chairman Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Brendel's our vice chair.
For the secretary of the board?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Tangeman as secretary.
I'll second. Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman,
Abstain.
Mr. Zelnick,
Yes.
Ms. Lodgy? Yes. Chairman Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman is our secretary.
And for recording secretary?
I'd like to nominate Janine, right?
I'll second that.
You sure you want that?
Do you want to abstain?
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman,
Yes.
Mr. Zelnick,
Yes.
Ms. Lodgy? Chairman Pearsall.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations, everyone.
So, Mark, excuse me, so those were the nominations on that, for the positions. So do we now do for the resolution itself?
Yes.
Okay. So this is now the resolution 2017-01, which names Dennis Pearsall as our chairperson, Brian Brendel as our vice chairperson, John Tangeman as the secretary, and Janine Gillis as the recording
It's
secretary.
adopting that resolution.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I need a first.
I'll first it.
Okay, so now this is voting on that resolution 2017-01. Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller, Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman,
Yes.
Mr. Zelnick,
Yes.
Ms. Laji, Chairman Pearsall.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Now we're going to appoint our professionals for the year 2017. This is resolution 2017-02. I'll take the nomination.
I'll second it.
I'm sorry. I
I'd
didn't-
like to nominate,
They're already in
oh, we
Yes,
are.
yep,
Yeah,
ma'am.
well, we used to both have to go through the process.
there. I will nominate Lou Velasco as the engineer. I'll second that.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller, Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman,
Yes.
Mr. Zelnick,
Yes.
Ms. Laji, Chairman Pearsall.
Yes. Okay.
Nominate Mark Kittrick,
I'll
Esquire.
Second that.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman,
Yes.
Mr. Zelnick,
Yes.
Ms. Laji, Chairman Pearsall.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But now we need a first and a second for resolution 2017-02.
Make a motion, we accept resolution 2017-2.
I'll second that.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman,
Yes.
Mr. Zelnick,
Yes.
Ms. Laji, Chairman Pearsall.
Yes.
With
We
the
have our
rest,
professionals.
yeah. The other two, we can just proceed with just adoption.
We want to change the date though, right?
Do we?
Like, take a look at the date for what, the December meeting?
December,
We were thinking that maybe we could move that meeting instead of being like a few days after Christmas to
Mhm.
putting it like on December 14th. So, what do people think about that? So, would be,
What's the planning board?
The planning board, we are December 20th, the Wednesday.
here on Wednesday?
Right.
If we need to meet. Would it be possible to do the 21st?
So what would that be like?
That's the
Yeah,
third
4 days
Thursday.
before.
So the 21st is the Thursday, Christmas is the following Monday.
Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
So would you like that day better, Mark?
It spreads it out a little more.
Let's do that day.
Yeah, unless that poses a problem.
No.
That was
I've got no plans beyond tonight.
It's kind of far away to figure
It's
out.
sort of hard to project. That would be.
But the November meeting is on the 30th, so.
Right, which is the
That's a little
fifth
tight.
Thursday.
That's a little tight.
Right. So it would be, doing it the 14th is 2 weeks
All right,
later.
so what do we want for 21st?
21?
21.
Okay.
So let's,
And everything else is fine, right?
This is paper come up with that?
Just let us know the week before.
December 21st.
A week early in December,
Right.
the
Yes.
third Thursday instead of the
Mhm.
4th.
do all the other dates look okay to everybody else? I mean, they're, what, the fourth Thursday of the month?
Mr. Martin didn't think he did work, so.
Okay, so we need someone to make a motion on the dates.
Make a motion that we accept resolution 2017-03 with the change of the December date to the 21st.
I'll second that.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yeah.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangent,
Yes?
Mr. Zelnit,
Yes.
Ms. Lodgy, Chairman Pearson.
Yes. And the last one is about the newspaper designations. So we've used the Asbury Park Press and Coast Star.
So keep them?
So I'd say that. So what do you make motion?
Make a motion we accept the resolution 2017-04.
Second that.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Tangent,
Yes.
Mr. Zelnit,
Yes.
Ms. Lodgy, Chairman Pearson.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, as we are a Board of Adjustment, and one of our powers that we have is to adopt a report in which we send a resolution to the mayor and council asking them to review ordinance changes based on matters that we've had before this board. And I didn't prepare one for tonight's meeting. My thought was to prepare it for the February meeting so that we could have perhaps a discussion with the board as to what, if anything, we'd like to include in that resolution.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything?
Well, that report, is that like also a report that tells the council how many variances we granted and what we didn't do? Or is it just
No,
future stuff?
Yeah, it's,
I thought there was a report that went to the council that said this past year, people came to us for this, and this was granted, and that wasn't
The
granted.
zoning officer, but this
Yeah.
report, we've done it before. Now,
Okay.
take an example, like a number of years ago, the sidewalks were an issue. So that was something that we had requested because it usually reflects matters that are frequently coming before the board, issues that are frequently.
Porches was another one.
Porches was another
Porches.
one. And then we say, hey, we'd like the mayor and council to look at perhaps adopting an ordinance change, so as to address the issue at the ordinance level as opposed to addressing it.
Well, the one application that comes to mind, and it's only one, it's not one that is recurring, was the one on Ocean Road, where the applicant had a two-car garage attached to the house. It was a new construction, and then they called it a garage in the back, and they were going to use it as a cabana or storage or something like that. But it was the size of a garage and much bigger than a shed. I think it was in the vicinity of 600 square feet. Now that seemed to me to be something that fell through the cracks of the ordinances, because I believe they already had a shed in the yard.
No,
No, all right. But,
no, we defined that that building can't be called a shed.
Right.
so they have actually on this, probably regular sized lot, I can't remember,
But actually, everything was fine, except that their accessory building was not a garage.
And it was,
They were saying it was a garage,
They called it.
and that was how they got away. And we were told it was okay, right?
Yeah, but they could have gotten a permit with just calling it an accessory building.
Not for that size,
No.
though.
I
The size
think-
was still under 600 feet.
Yeah, but what's the size? It's supposed to be 100.
But a garage?
No,
it's
an
a
accessory
shed.
building.
That's a shed.
Yeah,
Right, well,
That's the only type of
that's it.
accessory building.
that was very, right.
so that, it seemed like it was an excessive, and there was no driveway that led to this building that they were calling the garage. It was just,
Right.
Right, they
it
just
was just
decided it was
a bigger,
garage.
they
Had a
kind
garage
of,
door.
instead of.
No, it had sliders,
No, the plans had a garage door.
but the building was,
Right, then it
right.
had sliders in
It
it,
had
right?
sliders, and had a man door on the side,
Yeah.
36. And,
So what are you thinking that?
So I'm thinking that for some reason, you can't have two-car garage on the house and then have another garage in the back with no access to that, for car. Because the word garage to me means something that you could put a vehicle in. Chances are you're gonna put junk in it, but you could put a vehicle in. Now, there's no way that they were gonna be putting a vehicle into this accessory, which they call the garage, because there was a fence there was no driveway, and I just thought that something like that needed to be, maybe looked into, and maybe changed the ordinances.
Which way?
Do you remember?
To limit it.
Allowing them to have the
No,
bathroom?
no, I mean, to only have a shed, which,
probably to somehow write it more clearly, because we had to give permission to a guy on Shore Road to do essentially the same thing. Remember the guy behind,
He had a shop, so.
he wanted a shop in the back, but it was way too big, and he couldn't have a driveway to it, couldn't have it above the garage in the house, wanted it in the back. And we gave him a variance for that before he did it. This guy did it, and then we were told that it was okay, it was a garage.
No. He was approved by the
But the building department, yeah.
but that was not coming before us unless somebody, complained and says, hey, look, I'd like, somebody from the town to go and check that out. And so whoever, checked it out, if it's Joe May or Neil Hamilton, they said, well, let's stop and, bring it to the Board of Adjustment. And so, it did come to us,
And Joe May didn't come to that meeting,
right? So,
just saying.
We could probably look at the language, it seems like you want the
Yeah, I
garage
think
to
that's-
have a driveway.
or how many garages can you have? I mean, that's just a normal sized lot. They got a two-car garage attached and a third garage?
Well, when the garage is attached, it just becomes part of the main structure.
Yeah, I think we do need clarity.
So you want
Can't you
to
base this-
define,
Can't you base this on lot coverage? If you build a house and you're 100 square feet in your living structure, or that structure, less than the allowed lot coverage, could you not build a shed of 100 square feet or something so that you use your total allowable lot coverage?
Well, yeah, but that's the whole thing, is the shed is up to 100 square feet, right?
Well,
So-
I just use that as an
Right,
example.
but what I mean is, this guy went to 600 square feet, or whatever he went
Well,
to.
if it was 600 square
No,
feet.
it was like two
It's
to
still-
3, but it
2 to
wasn't.
3, it was
If it was
demonstrably
within-
larger than
It
a
was bigger
shed,
than a
than
shed.
100 square
Within his
feet.
allowable lot coverage.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing, do you want to allow sheds, as long as you stay under the allowable lot coverage, allow sheds of any size?
Well, it's not a shed.
Today's
No, that's what he's saying.
Today's world.
You're calling it
lawnmowers-
an accessory building. A larger accessory building.
Dennis, what you wanted then to propose sort of is that the council needs to give us a better definition. It should be in the law what a garage is, and a garage should be capable of holding a vehicle, and there should be a driveway to it.
Access.
And that's what a garage is. So you want to define a garage. Right.
An active garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that building did not fit our description of a shed, so they called it a garage. That's all they did, they didn't make it a garage.
But it wasn't a
It
garage.
couldn't come close to being a garage, because right, it had no access.
So we could suggest then that the council define what a garage is, and maybe put in those suggestions that you have to be capable of fitting the vehicle, of putting the vehicle in it, and that there's a driveway to, with access, or, yeah.
And it needs a garage door.
And if it doesn't have those things, it's not a garage.
Well, some of the vehicles today, you could fit them into a very small shed.
To be honest, I'm looking at our land use right now, under definitions, we do not have a definition for garage. We have a definition for accessory use or building.
Okay, what is that?
shall mean a subordinate use or building, the purpose of which is incidental and subordinate of that of the main use or building on the same lot.
And that's no square footage?
Correct. Not there, not there.
Somewhere else.
But if you go to the ordinance that details accessory structure, it does say 100 square feet, and I'm trying to find that. Here it is, accessory building. Any accessory building attached to a principal building is part of the principal building and shall adhere to the yard requirements for the principal building. Any accessory building detached from the principal building shall have a rear and side setback of 5 feet. Only one shed and one garage per lot. Any detached accessory structure cannot be located in front of the principal building. The maximum structure size for a shed shall be 100 square feet with height not to exceed 10 feet. The maximum structure size for a garage shall be 600 square feet with height not to exceed 15 feet. Above shall be considered in lot coverage.
So this, but they don't say what a garage is.
No,
because
in the
everybody knows what a
definition
garage
part,
is.
in there it doesn't say it
So-
in the definition part.
You theoretically then, you could build a little Taj Mahal in your backyard that's 600 square feet and say it's a garage. So that's why we need to define what a garage is.
Arguably, that's what that applicant did.
That's what it is. It wasn't quite a Taj Mahal, but it was, it had some features.
So what I'll put a resolution together for the next meeting and then we'll review it.
Yeah, and we'll define what a garage is and ask them to put that into their,
How many years does that all take?
well,
It's not gonna take me long.
No,
The reaction time.
depends on how
again.
close it is to elections.
What were the other things that we had? Porches
So,
was one, and what was the other?
Sidewalks?
Like the sidewalk.
Well, that was a matter of definition that we were looking for,
Okay.
right? We were looking for them to,
To add, we asked, them, what does it mean, new construction? What's the definition of new construction?
Right. Is it a brand
And
new
they answered when
house?
it was new.
Brand new.
I don't know why we didn't think of that.
All right, so we got something. Last year, I don't think we had it.
No, we
It's
didn't.
good, it's good to have stuff.
Makes it look like you're doing something.
Okay, so
adjustments.
do we need to close out this portion of the?
Make a motion, we close the meeting?
I'll second it.
Mr. Brendel?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Tansman?
Yes.
Mr. Zelnick?
Yes.
Ms. Lodgy? Chairman Pearson?
Yes.
We're closed.
All right.
All right, which brings us to a regular meeting. So let's get up and running.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Janine, whenever you're ready.
Yes. Would you roll call again? Mr. Brendel?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Quinn?
Here.
Mr. Tangeman?
Here.
Mr. Weiss? Absent. Mr. Zelnick?
Here.
Mr. Martin? Absent. Ms. Lodgy? Here. Chairman Pearson?
Yeah, here. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law. Notices of this meeting were included in the list of meetings sent to the Co-Star and the Asbury Park Press. It's also posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and it's on the borough website. I'd like to have someone move the minutes from the December 20th, 2016 meeting.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Mr. Brendel?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Tangeman?
Yes.
Mr. Zelnick?
Yes.
Ms. Lodgy? Chairman Pearson?
Yes. No correspondence, no old business, which brings us to our new business. We have Edward Hudson and Patricia Lothrop, is that correct? Their application Z 2016-12. but welcome you and, bring you up, or what, both of you are gonna, are you coming as a team, or? And we're going to swear you in, either both or, one of you. I guess both of you are gonna have some input. Okay, so.
For the record, if you could just each state your name and address. If I can see both of you.
There you go. You can stand next to each other.
Edward Hudson, 1218 Ocean Road.
Patricia Wilford, 1218 Ocean Road.
If you would raise your right hand, please, all Mr.
Let's say
Navasco.
it, Lou.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
Yes.
Thank you.
I forgot to ask you, did you have someone else that was going to testify for you
Yeah.
I'm here as a.
as a neighbor? Okay. Okay, we know that you're here about your, your driveway, and maybe you can give us a little background about,
How did we get to this point?
yeah, how long maybe you've been in the house, when you decided to do the driveway, how you went about doing, things of that nature that will give us a little background information.
It's working.
I don't know, your name is that? Okay.
Well, thanks for having us here. I appreciate the opportunity. Pat and I moved to 1218 Ocean Road in 2010. The house that we moved into, we're the second owners. It was built actually in 2000. I was just going to give some history on that property. It's got a little unique history, I think, anyway. It was a subdivision in 1988. The woman we bought the house from lived actually on the corner of Old Mill and Ocean Road. And she purchased, I guess, a vacant lot east on Ocean Road. And she had to have it subdivided to make it a buildable lot. She actually had a two-car garage that was attached, removed. She had part of a breezeway removed. And then actually, the lot where our house is on, I'm guessing like about 20 feet or 25 feet she picked up going west, so it was a buildable lot. Both of those lots, though, the corner lot and then the house that we live in, they were non-conforming in depth. It was pointed out by the engineer that I guess 120 feet depth is what was required. And I do have the whole letter from they got a variance through the planning board, I guess, because both lots are around 198, 100 feet deep, so they're not conforming. What else? I just wanted to say that the history on the driveway, or how it all came about. I actually got the idea of extending our driveway. The original driveway was 25 and a half feet, we just say that first, which is all the most non-conforming, as is the apron of the curb opening. And that was from the original house when it was built in 2000. I don't know if there was a variance on that, it might have been part of the planning because it was a subdivided lot, and it's actually oh, I'm sorry, it's a modular home. We have a picture, the owner gave us a album of all the pictures and the excavation. It's very interesting. It's kind of neat. It's very handy for a lot of things over the years. But what happened was when they built the original house, it's actually 25 and a half feet wide, which in itself exceeds the driveway, exceeds the 20 feet, So we moved there in 2010, and we like it very much here. We're happy. Pat actually lived in Spring Lake Heights since 1989. She lived in a condo there off 71. The street is very, very busy. I'm sure some of you, I know you live probably in the vicinity, and Ocean Road is very busy. It's a 25-mile-per-hour zone, and from day one, we found that out. A lot of our neighbors who lived there for 30 or 40 years expressed the same thing, said, oh yeah, it's a very busy road, and it seems to get busier every year. So what happened was I actually had a package delivered to the wrong address when we first moved there. We're 1218, I had a package delivered at 1208 Ocean Road. It's about 3 doors down from us going east on Ocean Road. And I met the owner there. He just subsequently sold his house in the summer. Well, when he bought the house, he had done a lot of renovations, additions, everything else. And he put this beautiful paver driveway in front of his house. It's almost the whole width of his front yard. He had some trucks and vehicles, and we talked a few times, and I got from him that he likes the fact that he can move his vehicles around, turn them around, and pull straight out on the highway, or on the roadway, rather. That was years ago. So a couple things happened with us, and we've talked about it, and I said, you know what, maybe we should try to do something like that ourselves. Interestingly, where the original house was, where the 2-car garage, where the subdivision occurred, is basically the west side of our property. And living there a few times, digging up to plant bushes and trying to grow grass and stuff, I hit a lot of old asphalt and chunks of concrete, and a lot of shale and fill. And it dawned on me to look back at the picture album, and that lot was somewhat level in the pictures I saw. They filled a lot in there, and a lot of it wasn't the greatest soil, I can tell you that. I lived in Wall Township for 11 years, and I had very fertile soil. I would plant everything and it grew, and where we are now is not so much luck. But anyway, my point is, the area where we extended the driveway, which is about an additional 18 feet from the original 25, so the total width is about 43 feet. Our idea was similar to the gentleman down the street, where we would be able to pull in and kind of do a K-turn or back in and come forward onto the street. Believe it or not, it's very difficult to back out of that road, probably the entire length of the road. But up from where we are, where the hill is coming up from the park, and we're one door or one house off from Old Mill Road, it's a chore. I mean, almost all the time. Summer's busier, sure, and early morning, maybe late night's not bad, but in and out of the driveway is a chore. I have a big pickup truck, so I pull out real slowly, stop, put in gear, and go. I never timed it, but it probably takes 5 or 6 seconds without really rushing to do that. The idea was to be safer, so we pull straight out onto the road rather than backing out. We get a lot of traffic off Route 35, and I can tell you that I would say at least 50% of the people coming eastbound are not doing 25 miles an hour. We have a lot of people coming off Old Mill Road by the corner here, which is only one house away. And a lot of times if you're backing out, there's no one there, you go to back out, and all of a sudden someone whips around the corner and they're beeping the horn at you. One occasion, I backed out with my pickup truck and stopped, and someone went right around me. When I looked down the street where the car was, he appeared to be, plenty enough where I could pull out and I had a problem. Well, obviously he wasn't doing 25. The other thing I wanted to note is where that hill is going east on Ocean Road down by the creek, which is right near 1208. Smaller cars disappear sometimes. If you see cars coming or going, probably a lot of you have driven on that road, but where we are stationary in our spot, it's a hill and it kind of comes back down a little bit toward our house. You look and there's no car, you got to pull out and there's a car right there. And unfortunately, not everybody is a friendly, courteous driver, as everyone's aware, I'm sure. You got a lot of beeping horns, you got a lot of people yelling, cursing, and sometimes. Thank God I never had an accident there. But I will say that I was parking my truck on the street, because you're allowed to park on the street up by us on our side of the road, on the north side. And I parked there several times, and one time someone came by and took my mirror off my truck. Now, bad driver, they weren't paying attention, I don't know, but I think speed had something to do with it. I'm sure you're aware of Old Mill and Ocean Road. That intersection is a pretty bad intersection. It's had some bad accidents just in the 7 years we've lived there, and all my neighbors who have lived there longer told me there's been many accidents and some pretty bad ones. So, getting back to the driveway, I think pulling out straight forward at any street, wherever you're going, is definitely a safer, easier way to enter a street. The other side of it is when you're coming down the street doing 25 and then you slow down to 5 miles an hour to pull into your driveway, you have people literally in your back seat. And I've been trying to figure out for years why people drive so fast in that street. I'm not a traffic engineer, I'm just using common sense, but I did notice that between 9th and 10th Avenue on Ocean Road, that road widens. It goes out about maybe 6 or 7 feet. And I also noticed, I drive the road several times a day, and I'm sure some of you do too. There's almost never cars parked like past 10th or 11th Avenue. Certainly almost never cars parked from the park up the hill and then up to Old Mill Road near where we live. So it tends that people, because there's not parked cars, they seem to go a lot faster. And it seems to be a lot tougher, a lot more of a challenge to enter and exit your driveway. There's also, I read some articles about street safety and these different types of things that go on in municipalities. And across from our house, from Old Mill Road down to almost Pond, there's no sidewalk. We were discussing sidewalks before. Now there's a sidewalk on our side. And from Pond Road all the way down on both sides of Ocean Road, I think as far as you can go, at least till 71, there's curbs and sidewalks on both sides. And there's usually cars parked, I would say, in the 7th, 8th, 9th, that area. And I think the traffic down there is a little slower. I know when I go down there, you're a little more attentive, you're slowing because there's parked cars, and sometimes when 2 cars go by, it's a little tighter squeeze. But I think because we're closer to the highway, it's that crest when people come up on Ocean Road coming west, they accelerate. I mean, I'm out there raking leaves, cutting grass, shoveling snow. It's amazing. I mean, I'm sure, I'm sure a lot of you living in the area, witness that, but living there and being there all the time, it just amazes me the speed and why people even think that in a residential area you would go so fast. And years ago, when the police department had one of those "your speed is" sign, down by the park, I personally witnessed 55 miles an hour several times. And I could, people zip by, and I'm astonished, and I see the lights flashing at 55. And I'm like, where are you people from? And where you're going? It's such a, and I'm really concerned because this park down there, they just put in that crosswalk, the mid-block walk for the park, and they put another one over by the community center. And it's scary because before I lived there, I like to say I probably did 25. Honestly, I probably did 30 or 30, but there's no way I was in 40 or 50. I just can't even think of how people do that. And one other point I wanted to make was, when you're coming into our area from the west, there's 3 roads that come in to Spring Lake Heights, to 71, and to the beach. That's Alair Road, Warren Avenue, and Ocean Road. Okay, comes into the borough of 71. Our speed limit is 25. Okay, Warren is 40, and Alair is 35. Now you know Alair and Old Mill Road, they put a light in there a few years ago, and everyone knows they just recently put a light in on Warren Avenue. I really believe, and some of my neighbors had told me and feel the same way, and we're looking forward to the summer, we think that the traffic has increased somewhat on Ocean Road because that people are avoiding the lights. And I think part of the problem there is that people who are doing 40 on Warren and 35 on Alair are doing 35 and 40 on Ocean because they, not that they don't know any better, there's plenty of street signs, the town put up a lot of street signs, and the police are there patrolling and doing, the best they can. They can't be there all the time. But it's mind-boggling because you're trying to figure out, it's a residential area, and you go to some of the side streets, 9th, 10th, 11th, any of the other side streets in the area. If you were doing 30, you feel like you're flying. And I'm thinking the cars on Ocean Road are doing 40, 45, and think nothing of it. And I just looked at some data because I'm not an engineer or a mathematician or anything, but a car traveling 25 miles an hour goes 36 feet per second. If it's doing 40 miles an hour, there's almost 60 feet per second. That's just a calculation of it. So my point with that is if you're backing out of your driveway and I'm looking down the road and I see a car that maybe is 200 feet away and if they're doing 25, I have 4.5 seconds to back out and move and probably not even hinder their path. But if someone's doing 40 or 50, and I don't know that because I don't have a radar detector in my brain, and it's hard to tell sometimes how cars are going, you actually pull out and people are right there and they're beeping at you. And you feel like you're the criminal, but I'm thinking, you're doing 40 miles an hour and 25. And the point of it is, we extended the driveway, we can maneuver our cars, when we have to. I'm not saying not every single time. If there's no traffic for a certain time of day, you can back out. But I would say better than 50% of the time. We can do a K-turn, if you will, back in, or come off the road and go in and then back in. and turn around and enter the road forward. I also noticed around town, after I got the notice and was aware of the ordinance, that I witnessed like several houses in our area, of 1208 particularly, and that's where, like I said, I got the idea from, because when they extended the driveway, I thought that's a great convenience, that's a great idea, and it's much safer to pull out like he had it. But I witnessed, or just observed, just driving around, I would say about a dozen properties throughout the town that have driveways that are certainly exceed 20 feet, probably exceed 30 feet, and probably more. And I don't know the people, but I would guess that if I asked them like what it was, they probably would say to enter and exit their driveway road easier or safer. The Old Mill Road, Alair Road, 71, I know 71 is probably a different zone, but I mean there's several houses like that. I have pictures and exhibits, and I don't know if I can show them to you or if you want to look at them or whatever, but it's just that I noticed from 1208 Ocean Road, the guy that I used to know that lived there, that's where I got my idea or my thought, and that's how I got my idea of why I decided to do that or why I thought it was a good idea. And you know, quite honestly, I never noticed people's driveways. You're talking about a house on Ocean Road with the garage, which we're trying to figure out where it is. We have no idea what you're talking about, so we're going to have to go look and see where the house is. We've never noticed it.
It's, where the community center is,
Oh,
the
right.
second house going towards 71 on the same side of the,
One of those two new houses.
Okay, on the left side, the new ones there. Okay. But
now, your pictures that you're mentioning in there, what are they pictures of?
there's about 12 different properties in here.
With what you construe to be, you know, wide driveways or in front of?
Yeah, well, I did some Google overhead shots. Like I show you where our driveway is, you can see where our extension is. And then I have several pictures of other overhead shots and pictures of about a dozen houses in town that have driveways that, you know, I think if 20 feet is the limitation, they're certainly got to get out and measure them. I mean, they don't have to. But
Well, your driveway is 25 feet, but that was installed when the house was built.
Right.
in 2000.
So that was probably approved at that time.
I guess it is. I have a lot of documentation and paperwork, but I
Did you see
can't.
anything?
What?
Mark, these pictures that Mr. Hudson has, should we enter them?
Yeah, you want the board to look at them? So why don't we have that binder marked as A1?
And then we'll just pass it,
Yeah.
we'll pass it
Yeah, there's
down
only one,
the,
there's only one
no.
set up.
Yes, Mr. Hudson, if you could please pass it to Mrs. Lodgy or Canadian.
There are photographs of driveway that exceed 20 feet.
Yes.
Well, it's the same side.
Yeah, 20, the ordinance, how it reads, I don't have to find it, but I've written it over. A residential driveway cannot exceed 20 feet wide in front of the house, which I'm assuming is the front of the property, but the word is the front of the house. And when I read this and looked into it, and did a little research on it, the interesting thing I found, and it's whether it's coincidental or not, and I don't really know what the intent of, I guess the law is from 1989, I believe. I looked it up on the I had to go to the coding system, I couldn't find anything on the town's website, but they're very over to there. But our driveway where we did the extension is actually on the same area where the original driveway and the original garage was, and the house that had the subdivision that I referred to where it was removed. That's just so when I dig up the grass there and dig up things, I hit blacktop chunks of concrete. Our driveway is a two-car garage, and I made the extension to the left, to the west of the property. It's at least 2 or 3 feet off the property line, so as far as the conforming with the side setback, it's okay. However, all of these pictures, it just hit me one day, you know, sometimes things just hit you. All of these driveways that I see are wider, whether they were built that way originally or extended, they all go in front of the house. And what I mean by that is, where the main driveway is, the extended part, or the exceeding 20 feet part, is in front of the door, the window, the structure, the house. So when I read this law and I had to read it again, I said, does this mean in front of the house or the front of the property? So I was thinking, and I didn't know about the ordinance, obviously, before we did the driveway, and I'm like, well, our driveway is in front of the house, but the extended part that we went is actually in front of open property, which I know this might be a matter of semantics, but I just noticed that all the pictures you'll see, the driveways are like somewhere in front of the entire house or in front of the structure. Like you could say that the driveway's in front of the entrance to the house, the door, the windows, literally in front of the house. And yeah, I don't think that really makes that much difference, but it's just kind of ironic that pictures that I found of all these different properties, they're in front of the house, and ours is in front of open area, open land.
I have a question. Go right ahead. What's like the timeline of all this that happened? Obviously, you bought the house in 2010, and then when did you do the driveway?
This past summer.
July, June?
July.
And how did you end up here?
Well, interesting. I had a contractor come to give me an estimate in like June, and everyone's so busy in summer. The guy calls me up and says, I can start it next week. And I said, oh. So I said, okay. So we drew it out what we wanted, and he showed up probably right at the 4th of July, I think it was. And he did it rather quickly. And I had asked him, I said, about like setback rules, and he said, usually towns, he's done a lot of work in Spring Lake Heights in the area. He said, usually you have to be 2 or 3 feet off the property line, so he kept it at least that. I didn't think he needed a permit because it wasn't constructing something. Like I said, we did a deck and a shed, and we had permits and construction permits went through all that because I assumed with the construction of something new. So he kind of did it rather quickly, and I put up a fence sometime after that. I call it a fence, but it was really 2 sections of a picket fence to try to dress it up a little bit. I put some rose bushes in, some other shrubs, I mulched it, and try to make it like look a little more aesthetic. I got a lot of compliments from my neighbors, and in October we came back from vacation. Like 3 months later, I got a letter in the mail from Mr. Hamilton. It said that he observed that I put up a fence that was too high and that it appeared that I extended my driveway without a permit. So I contacted him right away, and I said, I did this 3 months ago. I didn't know. I said I wasn't aware of any of that. So he said that you can't have a fence in the front of the yard, 25 feet off the curb line, I believe, that exceeds 3 feet. So I think within a week, I took the fence down. I basically just dug it out and took it down because I didn't want any problems. So he told me that I could either remove the driveway or try to go for a variance. So not really knowing the process too well, I looked into it a little bit, and I said, well, I guess I'll have to remove it. And I said, I might dig it up and just put stones for decorative. And he says, as long as you don't use it as a driveway, you can put anything you want, Because you're talking about definition of a garage. I was asking for a definition of a driveway. And no offense to him, I really didn't get a clear definition because it could be dirt, stone, pavers, concrete, asphalt. As long as you park your car on it, it's a driveway. He said you're not allowed to park on grass, which makes sense. So we were battling back and forth, and we finally decided, well, maybe we'll try to get a variance. And that's when I started noticing quite a few houses in the area. And I remember talking to my neighbor down the street years before, and I said, well, if this was done before, then, if I have an explanation or a reason, then why not? I understand. I think I talked to you.
Should have put up the fence.
What?
Should have put up the fence.
Well, it's funny because
So nice.
people I know said, someone turned you in. And I said, well, all my neighbors, my neighbor back here, Doreen next door, she's right next door to us, and she liked it, and our neighbors liked it, and people walking dogs, people I didn't know said, oh, it really looks nice, and I had rose bushes, and they bloom, they look really nice, and who knows? You don't know.
No, well, I changed 2 sections of fence in my backyard that were there, rotted out. I changed them, and I got one of those notices.
You don't. Well, I live in Wall Township, and I'll tell you, I had a 4-foot fence around my whole property, and I had permits and everything for that, and that was, Neil says, it varies by town. And I lived there 50, 70 years ago, back in the 90s. And I didn't really think it was a fence, because it was a screen. I called it a screen, because it was just a buffer. I mean, a fence to me is something that encloses something that keeps people in or out, so, I mean, it's still a fence, you go to school with a fence. But I took that down because he said you can't exceed 4 feet. So I removed that. But interestingly enough, I do have a permit now from Neil to install a 3-foot fence if I decide to. When I talked to him, he's very good. I talked to him back and forth a few times. And he said, if you put up a 3-foot fence, you're fine. And I have a permit for that. But I wasn't really going to do anything until I found out what the resolution for the driveway might be.
Where do you plan to put the fence?
Well, where I have the original fence is on the edge of the driveway, which is about 3 feet off the sidewalk, and then around the side, kind of just to,
Like from the front?
Were you running parallel to Ocean Road, or?
yeah, parallel to that's where the 4 foot. It's 16 feet basically. There's 2 8-foot sections, pretty much covered from.
So you were kind of camouflaging the driveway from the street?
Well, I was trying to make it a little more aesthetically, yeah. And I put rose bushes there, I mulched it, I have a couple other little plantings there. And, we put solar lamp caps on the post, and, I don't know. Most of my neighbors go to the meet, compliments, they said people I didn't know walked by and said it was nice. In fact, one woman walked by, I don't know who she was, she said, what happened to the fence? I said, I had to take it down because it was too high. She said, oh, it's a shame. And I said, it's through us, I didn't know. And ironically, the way the picture of the property goes, I mean, it was a 4-foot fence, but the way it was really low, it was like 38 inches and then 40, 8 inches, so.
So the fence that you had there is behind where the mulch and the small plants are now?
Yeah,
There's
the
between
sidewalk.
that and the driveway?
Sidewalk about 3 feet of mulch, and then the
then-
fence,
and
and
then
then
the driveway.
the driveway's about 4.5 feet off the sidewalk. And I'll tell you, when the contractor came, I told him I was hoping to just get something 2 car lengths wide, which is probably, 20, maybe 22 feet, if you had 2 cars parked side by side. Well, he did me a favor and made it bigger. I don't know if he did me a favor, because now it's a lot more asphalt that you really have no use for it. So it's like 2.5 cars, but we don't own half a car. I don't have a motorcycle, so he said, oh, I had extra, so I made it wider. I'm like, okay, well,
Thanks.
So now the fence might have been further back than it would, but I couldn't, jackhammer through the asphalt, so I couldn't put it as close, but it would have been back further, which probably would have looked a little more aesthetic, I guess.
I have some questions about pulling in and out, which is your problem.
Right.
When traffic is going from west to east, that's on the other side of the street from you, so that's not really the problem. That it's really the people going from east to west.
Well, that's true to a point. I got a 22-foot long
Well, if
pickup
he wants to
truck.
go east, right,
It's a problem.
yeah, but I mean, he's not going to get hit by those people in the west lane.
I have a
You
22-foot.
can't see, I walked up there. I walked up
I have a
there.
22-foot long pickup truck.
You
So
can't
when I
see
back out of the
people coming up that
driveway,
hill.
I'm in both lanes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, unless I cut it and run the curb, the trucks are, it just happens to be my truck. It's pretty
You
bad.
said, okay, if you were to take your cars and go from east to west, you could pass the driveway and then reverse and go back into it.
Right?
And then you'd be facing out.
Right, and I do that,
When
but
you can.
I do that when I can, I'll be honest, I do that when I can.
Okay.
And I did for probably 5.5 years. But with the traffic and the speed, it's
So
just,
sometimes you can't and
sometimes you can. I mean, I'm not saying it's all the time, but I mean, I would say more often than not. I mean, getting in and out of the driveway, to me, I mean, I go to work in the morning, I come on, and, I'm at rush hour, and on the weekends, it's a lot of traffic on that road.
Now, how many, I drove by tonight and I noticed you had 3 vehicles parked in the driveway. One was the big pickup truck,
Right,
and then there was another car,
right.
and then there was another car that was covered.
Yeah,
Covered.
I have a convertible that's covered.
Yeah, what make is that, and model is
What
that?
make? It's a 1992 Riata.
Okay, so is that like a classic car?
It could be, but I have regular plates on it. And
So do you use that area to like work on cars? No, so it's perfectly residential, it's not to, you're not using it as a repair place or anything?
Me, no, I'm not a mechanic, I promise you that.
Well, sometimes people have classic cars, do that. They work on the cars and they replace parts and they get new parts and all that stuff. How many licensed drivers do you have in the house?
Two of us.
Okay. So there's two vehicles and then the one that your hobby vehicle, so, okay. So
No, it's, I have normal plates on, that's a normal, I use it in the summer, I drive it,
Okay.
I could drive it tomorrow, it's a,
So with this additional piece that you put on, how many cars can you park in your driveway? You could get at least, you could get 4 in the old 25-foot driveway, right?
good,
And then you get maybe 2 more in that new space, and the part you added on?
oh, yeah, definitely you get two, yeah.
So you could fit 6 cars in.
Right.
But you don't have any intention of using that as a place to work on cars or doing anything like that? Would you stipulate that if you were granted the variance, would you say that, would you agree that that's not to be used as a repair place or anything like that? Okay. All right. No other questions from me, anybody else?
Well, interesting enough is looking through that Exhibit A, the number of driveways that are illegal in town. And many of them were built, on newer houses. Right.
It never came before us.
I can understand the situation of getting into and out of that driveway on Ocean Road. It can be a dangerous situation, and no matter how many cars you could park in that driveway, you still, I believe, should be able to turn around in your driveway so you can come out frontwards, rather than have to stop and back in to your driveway or back out and if there was flow of traffic or whatever, take a chance on getting hit.
Well, I would just add that, if I put up a 3-foot fence, I would be willing to, put bushes up or, compromise, so any kind of compromise or any kind of thing that would be more acceptable or maybe more. One question I had is when I read that law and then I looked it up and I researched a little bit, I was just wondering, and it was 1989, so I don't know, who was here, who wasn't here. I'm just wondering where that 20-foot width came from. It just seems to me is that if you have a 2-car garage, the smallest garage door that you can buy standard is 8 feet wide. That's 8 foot wide. You get 9 and 10 foot. Usually you have some kind of space in between them and a couple feet. So you're at 20 feet. I would say most people who have a 2-car garage, their driveway is probably at least 20 feet. Because I measured 5 feet, our original driveway was 25 and a half, so I measured 5 feet. When I parked our 2 cars next to each other, I had to be very careful I wasn't banging her car with my door. So, 25 to me would be more of a realistic start. And then you also have people with 3-car garages. I mean, there's a guy I know down on Oval Road. He has a 3-car garage, and 3 times 8 is 24. And his garage does that. And if I had a 3-car garage, I would definitely want a 30 to 35 foot wide driveway because I have a 3-car garage. I'm wondering why that came about, but then I'm also wondering what the point or the reason was. Because I guess you could have a driveway in the back and make it as wide as you want, as long as you're not hitting the impervious.
There are many driveways in town that are single driveways that are 8 feet wide. So I think when this law came about, they probably felt 25 feet was being generous for the two. Also, if you think about it, your pickup truck,
Right.
compare that to a pickup truck in 1989. It's about twice as big.
That's
Right,
what I
yeah,
said.
So they're making them bigger. So
Yeah,
everything
the
is
big SUV.
Right, the SUV.
So I think what was adequate
Yeah, no, it was in
doesn't fit.
was reasonable.
I don't care if you park only park your cars in the garage when you want to leave your property in your vehicle. You should be able to back out of your garage and make a K-turn in your driveway and to get out on Ocean Road.
If you want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I live
it's-
on a dead-end street, and there isn't a time, I don't care what time of the day or night, it can be 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Every time I go in and out of my driveway, there's a car coming, one end or the other, and it's a dead-end street.
Our friends on Blair Court around the corner, we walked around there one day, and I said, boy, this would be beautiful. Never cars coming, there's 5 houses on Blair Court, and in the cul-de-sac, and it's like quiet, and you could probably just, unlike yourself, you could probably back out of there pretty much with your eyes shut half the time, because it's very peaceful. It's just right around the corner from our house.
This
And
could be
and that
one of those
corner house still
instances
has a
that-
huge driveway. And that corner house still has that huge driveway.
Which one?
The one
On the corner of Blair and Ocean.
Blair and Ocean, that little cape that's.
Oh, the setback?
Yeah.
Oh, great, yeah, it's our
And they
neighbor.
still have.
Yeah, I noticed that, and that's an unusual setup, because
Yeah,
the apron's on Blair, her address is Ocean Road.
yeah.
And
Setback.
her granddaughter comes from Connecticut a lot, and she parks her car, like this way, and her lights shine right through her house, so we know when she's there. And she parks there, so she has her car, so they have like an L-shaped driveway, and I was thinking, do you measure it from the apron to the house? Do you stand in front of the house? And I kind of went there and eyed it up, and I go, you know, she's a nice lady, I'm not gonna talk, but like, I'm like, that looks like it's 20 feet both ways.
Both ways,
Uh,
it's huge.
However way you dimension it, but, you know, and.
How far is this blacktop from your property line, the end side of the blacktop?
The side setback,
Yeah, well, how far is this, the blacktop located from your property line on that western side?
I think it's about 3 feet, 2.5, 3 feet, yeah.
This may be one of those things that needs to go to the,
To the board, council, right?
just have them re-look at it.
Yeah, because we have an unsafe condition on that road, we really do, especially where you live, right at the crest of the hill, right by an intersection. A lot of people don't know what they're doing there. People are coming out of Wall
This lady
Township
lives
with
right
40
on
or
the
50
corner,
miles
so
an
she
hour,
knows.
with Wall Township people.
Most
Well, no, you do, we all do. Everybody comes up 35 faster than you drive through the lower end of Ocean Road. There's no doubt about it.
We had come to a meeting in September, when they had the meeting about the community center, and they had that ordinance about the mid crosswalk right by the park and about the community center. And we saw Ocean Road, so Doreen, us, and a couple of our neighbors came, and we just said that, you know, it's nice you're putting these crosswalks in, it's great for the park and the kids and the dogs and everybody, but we said, if you don't do something about the speed, it's gonna be a tragedy, because we all felt like, what we said, up that way from the crest and from the park and going through Rover Road, the speed is
Yeah.
mind-boggling sometimes. I'm out in the yard working, I look and I can't believe, and I'm thinking, what are you people thinking? I would never drive, I thought when you took your driver's test, it was an unposted road in a residential zone, you assume 25. I thought that was a rule, 100 years ago. But we have signs, there's signs everywhere, and they actually did put signs up
Next
after we
day.
came to that meeting, we were talking about that. They put up about 4 or 5 signs actually on the westbound
So
side.
they fixed that whole intersection there. That's what I read.
Created a turning lane.
Right,
Yes.
They fixed that whole.
Yeah.
They
Well, it's
put some,
kind of
they
fixed.
put some stripes on the road.
You never know what anybody's gonna do at that intersection.
Well, that's the other thing too, it's a good point, because when you're going to back out and you look toward 35, and they have that right lane only thing now, you're like,
Are they turning?
because as we know, everybody uses the turn signals all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
So you go to back out, and so I thought the guy was turning, he kind of swerves, and he comes straight, and
Right.
right at the stop,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
You get the same thing on Old Mill Road, when there's.
Old Road's got a very similar
It's a tough-
problem,
it's
especially
a tough
with that
little intersection.
Yeah.
On that south end of town, that section there, the only way into that section from 35 is Ocean Road.
Right.
That whole section, is what is between the golf course and Rec Pond,
Yep.
basically.
And I think some people avoid the Warren Avenue light now. I mean, if they're on 35, they may just go another feet, come up. I mean, I don't know, but I'm not anxious. I'm waiting to see the summer, which is
Well,
traffic.
people also get off at 35 heading north because it's like stopped. So you
Right.
get off at Ocean Road, even though you wanted to go Very,
and take Ocean Road to 71 to go north.
yeah.
Right.
I know I do it.
You know, on Ocean Road and Olmer Road and New Bedford Road.
Yeah.
That's what I have to do.
Well, you wanna,
I have a question. The water that comes off your roof and comes down your driveway, where does it go?
Off my roof and down the driveway.
When it rains, like it has, you know,
Into the,
recently.
down the driveway to the street down here.
Okay, so you're getting more runoff, I guess, because of the additional blacktop onto the street? Probably.
Yeah.
Now, I was thinking that, you know, you have increased your blacktop there by considerable amount. And you could probably help us with putting in a dry well, which would kind of take some of that water that goes down your driveway, down to the street, and keep it on your property. And, you know, that to me might be kind of like a little give and take on the situation.
Where would that be?
I don't know where you would put it, but Mr. Lobasco here, our engineer, he could talk to you about that.
Do you have
The water doesn't
roof
come
leaders
down
in
on
the
the
back of
driveway.
your house?
I'm sorry?
Well, I don't know that, Greg, and you don't
So,
either.
the roof is pitched the other way, to the north, to the east, and
He
west.
just said it did.
Talking about the downspouts?
yeah.
In other words, run the downspouts to
There's
the
a
driveway.
downspout on the west side of the garage that comes from the upper roof.
Yeah, that's the one.
And it comes
Well,
down
turn
on your
it the other way.
blacktop.
But it's on the existing driveway.
Right,
Yeah,
but there is runoff to the new driveway.
Right. So
And in other words, you have less pervious coverage. You have more impervious coverage now than you did before.
If you can put that downspout into a dry well,
Into a simple
that would
driveway.
be,
that would take a lot of the, you know.
that would stop the
rain.
water from running
Yeah.
out the
Now,
driveway.
Lou, could you maybe explain to our applicants a little bit? I'll have our engineer explain what a dry well, you know, is and what it would do. and-
Well, you would, went from the roof leader that's on the west side of your house, you would pipe that into the ground. And you can use, you can buy a dry well, you can put a pit in the ground with stone, surrounded with fabric. It just gets the water into the ground instead of going over your driveway.
And out the street.
The sidewalk and out the street.
My only question is that downspout was there existing, and it comes down to the existing driveway, and the water just runs down
So
from
you
the spout.
you could run a pipe, you could put like a 90 and it would go towards the back.
Yeah, just turn the elbow around and run it to the back of the house. With a pipe perforated.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm not saying how that's related to the additional driveway.
The additional driveway, you put extra asphalt down on the ground, that's
Right.
impervious surface. So now when it rains, the water doesn't go into the ground, it flows off that asphalt, so you're adding water coming off your property onto the street.
Right, it's
From-
pitched,
So if you can put other water coming off your property
Other
into
water,
the
right,
driveway,
so-
it'll make up
I was
for it.
trying to think.
Give and
of-
take.
No, it would,
Give and take.
total amount.
I
It would-
see, I
it would
understand. I was trying to
even
follow
it
that.
out.
This area being this close to the ocean,
Very-
the board is very cognizant of trying to get water back into the ground and not into storm drains
Right, not from-
into that pond.
We have a well in our backyard, with a dug well, would that affect it at all, or not? Does that come with the water back into the natural, is that you're saying it goes into the ground and soaks?
Your well's probably a lot deeper.
Right.
We're talking 14 feet at the moment, at max.
We go through some blacktop, that's there, the old driveway, I mean, the old driveway from the existing house that I was referring to before, every time I dig over there, it go down a foot and
You
hit
gotta
blacktop.
go a little further.
No, I imagine that, you probably get to the sandy area,
Right.
or we can talk to you about
Is
that.
that agreeable?
Absolutely, I mean, if that's something that they,
Yeah, I think, and from, you know, once again, I'm proven wrong. When I was looking at your application, I said, what the heck is this? You know, you're doubling, from, the required 20 feet to 40 some odd feet. And you're kind of doing it backwards. So I thought, well, what could possibly be like a compromise here? And one of the things that we do almost all the time, if not all the time, is to ask the applicant if they would put in a dry well, because, as Mr. Lovasco said, because we are close to the, shore, and that water that comes off your house down your driveway will go down Ocean Road and will wind up in Breck Pond, and, out into the ocean, and it picks up everything, gas leaks and so forth. So, so we're trying to, wherever we can, improve that.
Sure.
Like one thing at a time. And if you didn't have to come before us, you probably could have lived in your house until the day you died, and no one would have said anything to you. But when you come before the board, that's something that we are cognizant of, and we want to make our applicants cognizant of that too. And that's why, I brought it up. So,
I would never think of that.
yeah.
And we do the same thing with sidewalks. The house doesn't have a sidewalk, we try to convince them if they're gonna get a variance to put a sidewalk in, because ultimately everyone would then have a sidewalk. Hasn't worked out that way, but that's the way it's, they're doing something.
Okay. So we'll put that down as a, as a, part of the, resolution. Yes, okay. If there's anyone on the board have another question or have any comments for our applicants? Okay. I'd like to open this up now to the voice of the people. So if you're here, and I know you are, if you're here to speak on behalf or whatever against our applicants, would you come up, state your name, and Mr. Kittredge will swear you in, and we'll hear what you have to say.
Name and address, please.
It's Doreen from Quits. I'm going to spell that.
That would be helpful.
KLIMAIEWICC.
Just like it sounds.
Just like it sounds.
So, and what's your address?
It's 1220 Ocean Road.
You can raise your right hand, please. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth tonight, proceeding?
Yes, thank you. I came to support Ed and Kathy. They live next to me. They're very nice neighbors. They take very good care of their house. They have very nice aesthetics. I have no problem with the driveway. And I am in agreement with them that it is very hard to get in and out of our driveways. And we appreciate all the help we've gotten with the signage. But it still seems to be that, I also believe that because the lights are being placed on the other streets, that our street has become like a thoroughfare. So there's many times, when we're trying to leave our driveways, we have to be able to, and even when I enter my driveway, because I'm on the corner, a lot of times I avoid coming up Old Mill to turn at the intersection, turn again to get in my driveway. But if I take 71 and come up, I have to keep tapping my brakes, because if I put my foot, well, I do put my foot on, everyone, I think, is assuming I'm going a little further to turn at the intersection, but I'm trying to get in my driveway. And a lot of times the cars can come up pretty quickly. So I'm happy for them. I'd like to see them safe. And I don't know what the answer is on that corner. We've discussed this, and the two side streets on Old Mill have stop signs. Going straight down to 71 doesn't. So, we had talked about it, and I don't know if the stop signs got reversed, if that would help people, they come down and they have to slow down.
All I can say is that's something you want to take to the mayor and council, that's not.
Yeah, I know.
This is not.
I just have this on my mind. But so I'm just here to support them. I think But what they've done, it looks very nice, I have no problem with it, and that's my opinion.
So is your driveway on Ocean Road too?
Yes,
And how wide is your driveway?
mine's little, but it's long.
And so are you pretty much backing out onto Ocean Road most of
Yes,
the time?
because even when the bad weather comes, I try to turn the car around, but sometimes I can't even do that to get in my driveway because I'm looking at traffic and I'm trying to get in backwards, but traffic keeps moving. So if I'm lucky enough on a bad day, I can park facing out of the driveway, but most of the time I'm facing towards the house, you know.
Would you say you have pretty much the same difficulties and challenges that,
Oh, yes, I would say I do.
you know? So have you ever thought about making yours wider?
If I had the budget, I can't even tell you what I do in my house. You know, I live with what I have and I love my house, so, you know, everything works as well as it can.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you
So-
very much.
so Thank you for your time, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anyone else for the voice of the public? Do we need to have a motion to close that part, Mark, or?
You guys got one.
That part is over.
I'm going to put close in the minutes, closed by Gavin.
Over.
Okay. Is there any final things that you guys want to say before we take our vote? You feel good and want to rest your case, so to speak? Okay. I'd like someone to make a motion on this on this application.
I'll make a motion that we accept this application with the provisions that the applicant install a dry well, and we consult with Mr. Lovasco about the size and shape of the dry well. And also that, that the driveway is not to be used now or in the future as a place to repair vehicles. Does that cover it? I would think that does. Anyone want to second that?
What about the
The
fence?
installation.
We talked about putting it back.
Well,
That sounds good. I don't know if we can tell somebody they can't work on their car.
Well,
It's not, you know, I
I'm
mean, it's not
not
town
telling you
ordinance.
can't, what I'm concerned,
We're saying they can't work, I mean, if
no,
the car breaks down, they can't work on it.
well,
Right.
maybe you can rephrase it. This is what I'm trying, this is
I
what
know
I'm
what you're
afraid.
trying to get, I get it.
And not so, even like, let's say these folks decide to sell their house, somebody comes along and sees this humongous driveway and says, oh, this is fantastic, I can
Okay.
put 6 cars here and I could, start a
Yeah.
small business, so.
Well, wait a minute. That would be one for the code enforcement anyway, I don't know.
Well,
But I think the town's already got that.
What, that you can't
You know,
work
you
on?
can't run a business in your.
Well, yeah, okay, but you could not call it a business and still do it. So that, I just was thinking for future, not that you can't work on the car, but it can't be,
The phrase is commercial auto repairs.
Okay,
yeah, that's fine.
right.
Okay.
That's why you're the lawyer. That's where you get the big one.
Well, it says Esquire after your name.
Yes.
all right, so that was your motion?
Yes.
I'll second that.
All right, second.
Mr. Brendel?
I'm gonna vote yes on this. I mean, there definitely is a need for what you've done here. You know, Ocean Road is not an easy road to live on, obviously. And, you know, getting your ideas from other areas of town, you know, maybe next time come to the town and ask. But I vote yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote yes on this because I understand the situation and agree with the problems that you would have. egress and getting in and out of that driveway.
Mr. Quinn?
You know, looking at this on paper, I would vote no. But considering what you've explained tonight, and the fact that there's a safety issue, and I truly believe that that road there is, I am going to vote yes.
Mr. Tangent?
I'm also going to vote yes. The applicants have been willing to work with us and do the dry well and whatever, so certainly yes. And I suggest to them two things, that one, they go to the next council meeting and tell the council that you were before the board to ask for this because of the unsafe conditions and that's on your street. And secondly, you can also, right now or today, tomorrow, the council person in charge of the police department is named Sarah King. Okay, you can contact her and she can let the chief know about all the speeding going on. Now, you said the cops are there sometimes, but maybe they could be there more often. If the town will respond if they know what the problem is, so you gotta let them know. Okay.
Mr. Zelnok?
I'm going to vote yes, based on safety, and you made a compelling case with your A1, all the driveways in town that look more than yours. So you did a nice job, and I drive by it 3 times a day, and I never saw it. So,
Ms. Lodgy?
I'm also going to vote yes, because I do believe you feel the health and safety hazard for you. I also believe you would say that because of so many other people who have done the same thing, that you thought that you'd be okay to do that. But you didn't even think about having to go to town for that. I also, when I was looking at your property, I had my flashers on, and I was parked on the side of the road, and people were just whizzing by me. I thought I was going to get hit. I thought I was going to
Which
get
side were you on?
road. What?
Which side were you on?
I was on your side. I was on your side of the street, and I was just kind of driving by and looking at everything. And I had my flashes on. I was kind of over on the side, like I was parked with my flashes on, and people were just flying by me. So I seem to kind of feel what you were feeling, trying to get out of your driveway. So.
Chairman Pearsall?
I vote yes. Kind of like Owen was saying on paper, I was like thinking, you know, but I do that all the time, and that's why we have these meetings, so that we can hear from, you know, people like yourselves, and to hear what your story is. And your story was a good story, and it you know, it highlighted your problem very well, and I wouldn't park on Ocean Road, you know, if my life depended on it. You know, it's very dangerous, and I can empathize with you getting in and out of that driveway, and I just wish maybe that you had gone through the process a little bit differently, but you're here tonight, and my vote is yes.
Congratulations.
Yep, so,
Make the motion to close the meeting.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Meeting closed.
We'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
Good.